Hi, I'm Dawn, and this is where Shabby meets Bling. Tonight, I'm going to be taking thrifted items and scraps to create beautiful projects that have different elements. They are going to have elements of rust and elements of aged patina. So I'm calling my projects Rustic Elegance.
You're watching Rustic Wednesday, but on Saturday. This is the Creator's Choice edition. I'd like to thank my co-host, Shelly, from Repurposed My Way. You're going to find the links to her channel and this playlist in my description box below. I am going to create one item out of 3 in this project, and this plastic gold, really tacky cherub. She's plastic, all right. Blue says, ew, ma. Why you want that? Because I'm gonna make her pretty blue. So I'm taking this little cherub that I got for 50 cents, and I'm gonna be taking this metal bucket that has a painted patina on it already, which I picked up for $1, and I got it so long ago that I can't even tell you where I got it from. And then I am going to be using this candlestick, and I am going to put all these 3 things together. This is ceramic, and so the goal here is to make the cherub, and which is plastic, and the metal tin can and this ceramic candlestick all look like metal. That's the goal, and I'm going to be making them into one of these. I want it to look like an urn, and not just any urn, an old bronze aged urn with a lovely patina on it. I am going to start with my little cherub. She's first in line, and we are going to get rid of all those seams from where she was molded. I am going to use my sandpaper, and it's a pretty gritty sandpaper. It's an 80, and as I work, I will come back with a finer sandpaper and smooth out those harsh, rough edges that I'm creating. Now that I've taken care of those seams, I am giving her a coat of the podge. She's getting Mod Podged all over. This is a matte to help the paint stick a little bit better, because we're going to paint next. Burnt umber will be the base coat that I will be using to help me achieve that aged patina look I'm after. And all the pieces that I have shown you will be getting a base coat of this burnt umber. I am stippling because every paint coat I put on here, starting with this burnt umber, if I can make it be a little bit dimensional, I am going to. So you can see my burnt umber looks great with the brown that's in that tin can, and you can see that the tin can looks like it has much texture, not just a smooth painted surface. So stipple, and we will get this little girl painted all over, front and back, and maybe even 2 coats. We got to cover that gold. And of course, everything I do to the front and the sides, I will also do to the back, even though she will be perched on that can, and there will be an arrangement of sorts behind her. If someone sees it, I don't want this looking gold. Not at all. She did need a second coat, so here it is, coat 2, stippling away. And after this dries, I'm giving her another coat of Mod Podge. I'm applying as many coats of Mod Podge as I can in between layers to make it really stick. I don't want this paint going anywhere because it will be time consuming. We start on our can while that Mod Podge dries. Now this can is pretty darn simplistic, and I'm not going to alter the color on this thing much, but I am going to add some detail. I have these beautiful, gorgeous styrofoam little half wreaths or laurels, depends on what you want to call them. I have used them before. I have used them in this video. I'll leave that link in the description box. You can get them on Etsy. I will also leave that link for you. I am going to add some of these around the perimeter of the top of the tin. Now they do come a little thicker so that I can make them bend. I have shaved some of the back off. Now that they have some bend to them and are relatively pliable, they bend right to that can. And this is pretty much what it's going to look like. I am altering the little swags with the bows. I'm cutting the loops off the bows so that the whole thing will fit up there kind of like a little puzzle. Once I get them trimmed up, they will also get a coat of Mod Podge, and then we will paint them as well. They are going to get painted burnt umber, just like our cherub. And of course, our candlestick, our candle stand, needs to also be painted in that burnt umber because all these pieces need to look like they're the same. They need to look like one, and they all need to look metal. So back to the stippling. I'm getting sick of stippling, but that's what I chose to do. So I guess I just need to get on with it and get my stippling done. I want this piece to have a little more height, so I picked up this little wood plaque while I was thrifting for $1, and this guy is going to go underneath my candlestick. I will start by taking my 3-in-1 glue and going around the perimeter of my little candle stand, and then I will come back with hot glue in the middle for that good old instant hold that we all like to get, and I will glue the two pieces together. I'm very careful to center my candlestick because once she's dry, there's no going back. And once she is dry, then I can paint that little wood plaque, and it will also get painted burnt umber. After it's finished, I will set it aside and go back to our little bucket. I have glued my laurels and my little swags on with a very low temperature hot glue. Hot glue will not melt this foam if it's set low enough. Now I am coming back over my burnt umber with mossy meadow. Stipple, stipple, stipple. You can see I'm also adding a little bit of stippling over the can just to blend the two colors throughout. I continue with my mossy meadow until all of the laurels and the swags have had a little bit of this mossy meadow on there. I am leaving a little bit of the brown peeking out from behind, just like the can has. My green is dry, that beautiful mossy meadow, and now I am using a chalk paint, and this is a Waverly chalk paint, and the color is a plaster. And I love this color because it's not white, but it's not really an off-white either. It's just kind of smack dab in between. So I'm back to stippling, and this time it's a little more refined because I busted out all my stencil brushes. Now we have to be careful because everything we see now is going to be visible. We've covered up a large amount of that umber, and now we're going to just add a little bit of highlight detail with this plaster over top of the green. I have comboed two paint colors. I comboed our mossy meadow with a ocean cruise. Both are matte, both are plaid, both are folk art. This color is mimicking that paint color that's the undertone on my little bucket. It needs this color so that they will coordinate. Most of it will get covered up, but it needs to be there. I am following that paint mixture with plaster, stippling on the plaster all over my candlestick. I will do the same for my little cherub. Then I continue on with that green all over my cherub and on my candlestick until I get it looking just the way I want. It's just layer after layer of the umber, that paint combo I created, the plaster, and my green. After a lot of stippling, I'm nearly done. I'm coming back adding some details with that umber just like that pail has. There's areas that have distinct brown, that little lines here and there that didn't get aged. So I am trying to create the exact same look as that little bucket, because the bucket, after I'm done with this, will get glued onto the top of my candlestick. If I get too heavy-handed with my umber, I can come back with a little bit of plaster or green or both. These are some springs from a very, very old chair. I have tons of these and I love them, and I use them for all different kinds of things. Well, I'm going to create a little bit of trim for the top out of clay. But first, I am going to make a stamp. I am going to take this piece of scrap wood and I am going to turn it into a stamp, a two-sided stamp. First, I need to cover the entire thing in Mod Podge. We're going to podge it. This is all cotton lace from burlapfabric.com, and I'm going to take this lace and I'm going to glue it to my board. I am using 3-in-1 glue. I am not only gluing the board, but the lace. I put some dots down on both and I smooth it flat. I am using the top of the board as a guide, which will keep my lace straight. Once my glue is dry, I come back and I Mod Podge the entire piece, making sure to get in all the little creases and crevices in that gorgeous lace. The Mod Podge seals it to the board, making it almost like one continuous piece. It will get a second coat. This heart lace will get the exact same treatment on the opposite side of the board. I think I got this at the Dollar Tree. If not, then it was definitely Hobby Lobby, one or the other, and I got it last year. Now I am going to make an impression with that stamp. I roll out a long, thin strip of my flour clay and I brush it lightly with cornstarch. And then I am going to take my stamp, my good old stamp, and lay it down and see what I get. I've not done this before. It's going to be a nice kind of fun trial and error situation here. I am making sure my clay is straight. I am laying down my stamp and I'm going to press it. I'm going to press it as firm as I think I should. Second time around, I'll kind of have a gauge on how firm to push this down. So it either A, firm enough to make an impression, or B, not too firm to make it stick. So I'm assuming there's going to be a happy medium. So let's see what happens. The moment of truth. Hey, that's not bad. I mean, let's face it, we're putting this on a rusty spring and it's going to get aged. So if this looks a little rough and ready, I am fine with that. But you can definitely see the impression the lace has made. I will count this as a success since this is my first effort ever. Let's try again. This time I have a much smaller strip. It's a little straighter, it's a little cleaner, and should make a better impression. I'm going to lay this down starting from the middle. Last time the middle didn't get pressed, I don't think, hard enough because there was a couple little pieces of that area in that lace that did not make a full impression. So this time I'm giving it a little more oomph, pushing down just a little bit harder in the middle than I did the last time, and we'll see what happens. So I press, and I use my little board as a guide to give it a trim. I peel it up. It did stick in places, but I'll tell you, it gave me a decent impression. This is how I store my clay, my extra clay that I haven't used in a project. I knead it into kind of a flat dish. I added a little bit of water into the middle, and now I knead it into a ball. After I knead it into the ball, I cover it with some cornstarch and put it into the plastic it originally came in. Then I double bag it and add it into a Ziploc bag with my other clay that's rejuvenating, renewing, refreshing, reactivating. And zip it tight and make sure you get all the air out. And in a few hours or the next day or whenever you're ready to use your clay again, It's like brand spanking new. It's fabulous. Keep in mind, this is flour clay. I don't think this will work with other clays. After letting it dry long enough that the impression would hold, but it was still pliable, I trimmed out my lace, the bottom part of my lace, the frilly part, just using my scissors. I think this dried about 4 hours in a very warm, dry area. It depends on where you have this clay drying, curing, to determine when to start cutting it. And it's kind of by feel, and feel the part that doesn't have the impression so you don't ruin your impression when you're checking your clay. I let my clay lace dry in a circle because it is going to go around those springs, the top of the springs, remember. So I needed to just start forming that way as it cured. And now I'm using that umber all over these. They're going to get painted identical to my cherub and that candle stand. These items will coordinate so they can be displayed in the same room, even the same tabletop if I wish. By making them coordinate, I am creating unity. Unity is the sense of cooperation between all of the components of a space. Unity is achieved when all the items seem to belong together, and each item is a necessary part to satisfy a whole. So if you have items that coordinate in the same room, you are creating unity in that space. While I was playing with my clay, I decided to make matching tags to go along with my clay lace. I used these 3 clay cutters, and then I used these letters. I did not find these letters in the baking aisle, nor did I find them in the clay aisle. I found them somewhere else. They are actually made to create stepping stones. So they're stamps for stepping stones. Hey, anything that'll make an impression, right? And I love to make a good impression. Here's what the box looks like if you're looking to purchase them. I did get them at Hobby Lobby for $1.99, and you get the full alphabet and you get your numbers. To fill our urn, I'm going to be using these paper mache hearts and these clay hearts. I have used both these in other projects, and I will leave those video links in the description box below. I will be taking the paper mache heart and adding a rust texture to it, and I will take my clay hearts and add that aged look to them. I will add the rusting technique video link in the description box as well. I picked up this feather duster for $1.49 at the Goodwill, and I thought it was beautiful. It kind of looks like a rose or a cabbage, and this will be a nice filler for our urn. I will tuck it right up next to our cherub.
So, I have combined all of my elements, my rusty elements and my beautiful aged patina together for you to view. Let's take a look and let me know what you think in the comments.
There's one of our hearts. It doesn't look like paper mache anymore. It looks like it's a rusty metal heart. And look at how pretty that little clay heart looks on top. Matches our candle stand, now turned urn, beautifully. Beautifully. I'm very happy with the finish of my urn. I don't think you could really tell where one piece started and the other stopped. The rustic element of that rust and that aged beauty of that patina complement each other very well. Look at the molding. Look at the molding we added at the top of our urn. I think it looks original to the piece with the blending of the colors from that original tin bucket. And I carried the trim all the way around the piece, all the way to connect to the other side where our little cherub is perched. Let's take a look at that cherub, shall we? There she is. Right next to those beautiful feathers, you can see an authentic vintage 1914 postcard behind her. And you can see how the aged bronze look continues from her, from the tip of her cute little head down to her feet and on to the urn. I added 3 neutral peacock feathers to the back, as well as 3 of those rusted hearts that I made. Doesn't she look lovely? She says, "I'm yours," because Valentine's Day is approaching. All these items can be removed, and you could put a plant in here after Valentine's Day. This piece is very, very versatile. How about our springs? I think they turned out fabulous, absolutely fabulous. They are made to hold a bouquet to give to the one you love at Valentine's Day, or just act as really gorgeous decor. And our tags? Simply marvelous. These items that I've created can be used well beyond Valentine's Day, and I intend to do so. I am so happy with the outcome. Thanks again to Shelly for joining me in Rustic Wednesday, but on Saturday, you're going to find the link to her channel as well as the link to this playlist in my description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, share it with your family, your friends, and anyone that likes thrifting, repurposing, rustic, rusty, shabby chic, or Valentine's decor. You can follow me on Instagram, and don't forget to check out my shop on Etsy. Leave me a comment. I would absolutely love to hear from you. Don't forget to ring the bell for notifications of all of my upcoming videos. Make sure to subscribe. It's a great way to support my channel. But for now, this is Dawn with Shabby Meets Bling. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.